All right, hi guys. Welcome back from lunch. Before I get into my spiel here, I would like to take 1 minute just to watch a quick video that I think is a good introduction to what I'm going to be talking about just for a few minutes today. So if we could get that rolling, I guess.
We're asking teachers to do more than ever before. But the systems designed to prepare and support them have not kept pace. What would a modern system for training and supporting teachers look like? This is Joe Gutierrez. Today he's graduating from college with a degree in computer science. He has plans to become a teacher. But Joe's vision is not one that his classmates share. Over the last decade, the number of young people entering the teaching profession has been shrinking. After 10 years, Joe has become one of his school's star teachers. However, despite his important role in preparing our country's future generation, Joe makes tens of thousands less than his friends who chose other professions. A teacher's job isn't over when the bell rings. On average, teachers in the United States spend more time each week in front of students than teachers in most other countries. This means that Joe and his colleagues have to spend their personal time creating new curricula and grading assignments. Most teachers find that the only way to advance their careers is to leave the classroom. Ultimately, Joe decides he can make more money and work fewer hours by taking a job at an educational technology company. We know how important teachers are to our communities, so why don't we treat them that way? Modernizing and elevating the teaching profession is the most important thing we can do for our students. The Teach Strong campaign is working to lift up the teaching profession through these core principles. What if teachers were recruited, compensated, and supported like other professionals? Imagine what that would mean for students. Join our campaign and learn how to keep Joe and other great teachers like him in the classroom.
All right, so that's a little bit of an introduction. I was reflecting on the video that Best NC showed this morning and thinking about how we did not talk to them when we created this video. They did not talk to us when they created theirs, but there are so many similarities, definitely deals with the same themes and has some of the same policy solutions. So that's, I think, very exciting. So just to repeat, my name is Lisette Partelow. I'm the Director of Teacher Policy at the Center for American Progress, which we call CAP for short. And it's a multi-issue think tank in Washington, D.C. And in case you're wondering why I'm up here, why I interrupted your delicious lunch in that awesome cafeteria earlier, I wanted to speak a little bit about some of the work we are doing with Teach Strong, and you'll see, I think, as I explain some of it, how it really aligns and connects very well with what you guys are working on here in North Carolina. So Teach Strong is a campaign that aims to make, as you saw a little bit in the video, modernizing and elevating the teaching profession our nation's top education policy priority. And we really want to create some national momentum around this idea and eventually enact meaningful policy change in all aspects of the teaching profession. So how we recruit, train, support, compensate, big one here in North Carolina, all of our teachers. So first, oh yes, I have to be the clicker. Here we go. Oh, all right. To start with, education policy. Sometimes it can get a little bit ignored. I don't know if some of you who watched the debate on Monday night felt a little bit like we got a little short shrift. And sometimes it can be really controversial. I know folks in North Carolina might know a little something about that. We definitely know about that in DC too. And part of that is because we've just made a lot of changes to our education policy system over the last few decades. And similar to what Best NC was saying earlier in the day, we made all these changes because we realized that we really are at a point now where we have to be getting all students ready for college and career. It's no longer really possible to live a comfortable life in today's world without having graduated from high school and probably getting some additional education. So in our efforts to reach these goals, we've made a lot of changes to our schools. We've implemented higher standards. We've created more inclusive learning environments. We've raised expectations for all students. We've increased assessments and accountability. And however you feel about all these changes that we've made so far, I think we could probably all agree that none of them are really getting at the core of what's happening in education, what's happening in classrooms. And so Dan Weisberg totally stole my thunder here, because he talked a lot about the research around teacher quality. And over the last couple of decades, we've really seen a big leap in our understanding of how much a great teacher matters. And this is actually TNTP's data about how much more learning you can expect to get if you as a student get a really high-performing teacher. And I was going to talk a little bit about that study that he talked about folks who had a really awesome kindergarten teacher and they had all these lifetime effects, but since he already mentioned it, we'll just move on. There's tons more. There's lots of research now showing that teacher quality really is the most important in-school factor for students' academic achievement, and that great teachers are really the key to having an excellent and equitable education system. So we know that, but we have a little bit of a problem, because millennials are deciding that they don't want to teach, and we're seeing big drops in enrollment in teacher preparation programs. It's happening across the country. It's happening here in North Carolina. Your UNC system, which prepares the biggest proportion of your new teachers, has seen a 1/3 drop in teacher prep enrollment. And when we ask millennials about the teaching profession, they don't say very good things. They often say that they feel like the prestige of the profession is in decline, and they're reluctant to enter it because it doesn't have some of the perks and the benefits that a lot of other professions have: a better salary, a career trajectory, leadership opportunities, opportunities for training. So when we combine those two things, we know great teaching is really important, and we have the research to prove it. And we know that teaching has a bad rap, and fewer young people are interested in a career in teaching. We at CAP started looking around and seeing how can we start to make some headway on this issue. And we realized that a lot of education policy groups, a lot of national organizations were thinking about the problem in the same way. We're even coming up with some of the same solutions. And so we decided to bring them all together in the hopes that if we were able to speak with one voice, and that we'd be able to sort of get our agenda noticed in a broader way about improving the teacher pipeline. So very similar to what is happening here, you brought all kinds of leaders from all over North Carolina together to kind of coalesce around an agenda. That's what we did with Teach Strong as well. And so our membership now includes 65 at this point, I think, organizations, and they really run the gamut across the education policy spectrum. We have the NEA and the AFT, the nation's two largest teachers' unions. We have the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards, Teach for America, our partner here today, TNTP, Stand for Children, and a lot of other organizations. The list is quite long. And as you might know from your work here in North Carolina, where some of the state affiliates of these organizations are active, these organizations, they don't always get along. They don't always agree. But what they all do agree on is that we really need to focus on an agenda of modernizing and elevating the teaching profession. So, you may be asking yourself, what do we mean when we say that? And I know Best and C has talked a lot about elevating the teaching profession earlier today as well. And we have this great little graphic, and it's much cooler up close because you can see a little bit more of the text, but it talks about what is our kind of theory of the case here. And as a coalition, we've decided that the entire teacher pipeline is really important. It's important to change the trajectory of each piece of this pipeline. So we started with recruitment, and we went into training, licensure, all the things that teachers experience throughout their career. The supports that new teachers get, the professional development that they get as they become more experienced, and and the leadership pathways they get as they become accomplished teachers with more experience. If you don't mind indulging me for a minute, I would love it if you just take a look at your agenda for today, because you'll see that the breakout sessions, again, this is just a coincidence, it's not something that either of us planned, they deal with many of these, the aspects of the pipeline that we highlight in our Teach Strong campaign. So definitely folks here in North Carolina and these national organizations that we brought together are thinking along the same lines. And we think that the more momentum that we can get for this work that's happening here in North Carolina, in a lot of other states, in a lot of districts, the more we will also be able to push for national level change. And so we're definitely watching eagerly what you guys are doing here in North Carolina, and we hope that as you begin to move forward with the agenda that you develop here today and hopefully enact and implement it, that we'd love to support you in any way we can. And on that note, I'd like to just end by taking a moment to ask you to keep pushing forward after the work that you do today. Just coming together in a coalition, I know from experience how hard it can be to bring so many folks from so many different places together in one room. But as the last graphic kind of shows, we really believe that there isn't one simple, small solution to changing the trajectory of the teaching profession and therefore our students' lives, and we really need to be thinking about this in a holistic way. So we definitely applaud the work that you guys are doing today, and we urge you to keep working forward. And as a coalition, we're really hoping to continue supporting you and learning more about what you guys are going to do to modernize and elevate the teaching profession in North Carolina. Thank you.